You ever get that feeling that your data's just sitting there, holding all the secrets? That the answers to your biggest questions are locked away in all those tables and rows? Well, today, we're handing you the keys. Let's get in there and learn how to make that data talk.
I mean, every business, doesn't matter if it's big or small, starts with these fundamental questions, right? Like, hey, how much did we actually sell last quarter? Or maybe it's about pricing. Are we the fancy premium option or are we the go-to for a good deal? What's the average price someone's paying for our stuff? And of course, the big one, volume. Just how many orders did we even get? How many things actually went out the door?
So here's the cool part. All of those answers, they're already in your data, just waiting. You just need the right set of tools to pull them out. And that's exactly what we're doing today, building your very first data detective toolkit. We're going to start with 3 super powerful SQL aggregate functions.
All right, first up, let's tackle that whole average price question. And for that, we've got a function that's, well, perfectly named for the job, AVG.
So the AVG function is awesome because it's so straightforward. It just adds up all the numbers in a column and divides by how many there are. But here's the really important part. If you have any blank spots, what we call null values, SQL is smart enough to just ignore them, which is huge, right? Because you don't want those empty cells being treated as a 0 and messing up your whole average.
Okay, to make this feel real, let's actually look at some data. Here's a little piece of a products table. You can see we've got product names, category IDs, and the column we really care about right now, the price column. That's going to be our playground for a bit.
Building a query is kind of like playing with Legos. You start with one simple piece. First, select average price from products. Boom. That gives you the average price of everything. Then you can add another piece to get more specific, like where category ID equals 1. Now we're just looking at one category. And for the final touch, we give our result a nice, clean name with an alias, like as average price. See? Simple blocks, powerful result.
All right, let's level up. What if we want to find all the products that are more expensive than the overall average? Now, your first instinct might be to just write where price greater than average price, but SQL doesn't let you do that. So what's the workaround?
Well, let's think about this logically. First, we need to know what that average even is, right? So if we run that simple query from before, select average of price from products, the database spits out a number, $20.50. Okay, cool. We need that number. And this is where things get really cool. We use something called a subquery. It's like a query inside of another query. Check this out. The database runs the part in the parentheses first. It calculates that average, $20.50, and then it uses that number to filter the outer query. So we're essentially asking SQL, hey, first go figure out the average price, and then show me every product that costs more than whatever number you just found. This isn't just a trick, it's a super powerful way to create dynamic benchmarks to analyze your data.
Okay, so we've got averages down. That's one tool in our belt. Now let's grab the next one. What if you don't care about the average, you just want the big grand total? Well, for that, we've got the sum function.
And just like AVG, sum is super simple. You point it at a column of numbers, and it just adds them all up for you. It's perfect for things like total sales, total inventory, you get the idea.
But here's where sum gets really interesting. It lets you ask different kinds of questions. On one hand, you can sum up the quantity column. That tells you how many total items you sold. That's an operational number, great for the warehouse. But on the other hand, you can sum up an expression, like price times quantity. SQL does the math for each row first, then adds it all up. And suddenly, you're not just counting items, you're calculating total revenue. That's a financial number. That one little change takes you from counting widgets to figuring out your bottom line. It's huge.
And we don't have to stop at one giant total, we can slice it up. By adding a group by clause, we can tell SQL to give us a subtotal for, say, each individual order. So you can see right here in the chart, order 10248 had 27 items, and order 10249 had 49. This is how you go from one big, overwhelming number to a detailed summary you can actually do something with.
All right, so we can find the average, and we can get the total. What's left? Well, what if we just need to know how many? For that, we grab our third and final tool for today's toolkit, the count function.
Count is your head count function. It's all about counting rows. How many products are in the catalog? How many customers do we have? How many orders came in today? If the question starts with how many, count is probably your answer.
Okay, now there's one little detail with count you have to know. It's super important. Count star, that's count with a star, just counts every single row in the table. Simple. But if you put a column name inside, like count product name, it gets a little pickier. It only counts the rows where that column isn't empty or null. It's a small difference in code, but it can give you very different answers.
So let's try another brain teaser. I don't want to know the total number of products. I want to know how many different prices we have. So if we sell 10 different things that all cost 19 bucks, I want that counted as just one price point. How in the world do we do that?
The answer is one simple, beautiful keyword, distinct. You put it right inside the count function, like count distinct price. And just like that, you're telling SQL, hey, ignore all the duplicates, just give me a count of the unique ones. This is so powerful. It's how you find out how many unique customers bought something, not just the total number of sales. It shows you the variety in your data, not just the volume.
And of course, just like with sum, we can pair count with group by to get these really useful breakdowns. This chart here is a perfect example. It's not just a pretty picture, it's a strategic overview. By counting the products in each category, you can see in a split second where your product line is heavy and where it's light. This is the kind of insight that drives real business decisions.
And that's it. Just like that, you've got the foundational toolkit. 3 simple functions that lets you take mountains of raw data and boil it down into clear, simple summaries.
So let's recap real quick. Average E is for finding that middle ground, that benchmark. Sum is for getting the grand total, the bottom line. And count is for measuring how many, the scope of things. These 3, they are the absolute bedrock of doing analysis in SQL.
Just think about it. We started with some pretty basic questions, right? But now you have the tools to go so much deeper. You can combine these to find your average order size. You can see how many unique customers you have in different parts of the country. The power to turn that raw data into actual insight is literally at your fingertips now. So the real question isn't what can you do? It's what new questions are you going to ask first?